Hey, Manny, good to see you again. I'm sure everybody wants to just, when you heard the news about Al, how you felt for him. Obviously, he's gonna be playing football again, at some point, but not for you guys this season. And what have the conversations been like with him?
We're just trying to support Al. Obviously that's a you feel for him because of how much it means for him to be a Miami Hurricane and to be with our team. And but this is why our medical people put the checks in place. And I think it's another reminder of the severity of coronavirus. And so now we're just doing everything we can to support him in his time. And still, try to have him be a part of our team, even though he's not going to be able to play these last few games.
Thank you.
Coach, we're going to go to David Furones at the Sun Sentinel. David, go ahead.
Hey, Manny, and also along that front now, not having Al Blades for the final couple games and then the bowl game, you got a little bit of Isaiah Dunson in as a boundary in a nickel package when Takori moved to cover the slot. Your thoughts of him in that role and how he can help moving forward, and then obviously we saw Marcus Clark come in late, so those two guys now playing bigger roles for the end of the season.
Yeah, it's time for them to step up, and it's really not all that dissimilar to what's happened here in the past. I think of Trajan Bandy in November of his freshman year in 2017. Even Al Blades, Al Blades had to go in his freshman year against LSU as a nickel. So that's just kind of what you prep these guys for. Dunson played in our nickel package the entire game this past weekend and graded out as a champion. So but it was really important to see Marcus Clark get in there and not just on defense but on special teams and make plays in space and if there was a guy that was going to get the interception, it was going to be Marcus because his ball skills might be the best in our secondary. So proud of him, and we'll need those guys, especially with the challenge this weekend with the receivers that North Carolina presents.
And how much now at the end of the season is depth a concern at cornerback? And if something, you have 4 scholarship cornerbacks now, and if something were to happen to one of those guys, what would be your options as far as getting someone else to play one of their roles?
Yeah, we have all kinds of contingencies. We've had to think of every kind of contingency this year anyway because of at different spots of, hey, this guy may have to play here. We saw with Frierson going to safety in the Virginia game. So we've already made those plans. We already have guys that can fill in if that was needed, not just if we had 2 corners on the field, but if we had 3. And so we feel confident that either way we'll be able to perform.
Coach, we've got Tim Reynolds from the AP. Tim, go ahead.
Hi, Manny. Why was the ACC able to figure out what very few conferences could? How did the ACC get just about everything in? What was there something different about? I guess just how fortunate do you feel that the conference was able to get pretty much a full year in, and do you think there was just something different that the ACC did that other leagues just couldn't match?
The answer I'm going to give you, Tim, is from my. Obviously, I'm not in the meetings. I'm not when the decisions were being made, when things were very touch and go in the summertime. But from what I've heard, again, I think so much of the credit for the entire league and what they've done, certainly the administration of our league, but I really think that our president, Dr. Julio Frank, in that room of the university presidents, his voice and his leadership, coming from his expertise of going through 4 different pandemics in his background, gave the other university presidents confidence that we could do this going forward. And not only do it going forward, but start, as close to on time as any other, really the first major Power 5 league to get rolling. So, like I said, I wasn't in the room. I'm not on the call with all those presidents, but again, as it was referred to me, so, it's not just what Dr. Frank has done on our campus, but I think, I think his leadership in our league, I think everybody leaned on his expertise, and I think that got us going. And there's certainly been challenges, which I don't think there was ever a belief that wouldn't be without challenges. We're an example of that. But I think that's where, a lot of credit has got to go to Dr. Frank for our entire league for us to play.
As a follow, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you too. You guys have had some comebacks this year. What Coach L and his kids pulled off last night, I think, is unprecedented at Miami. How much does the football team feed off that when the basketball team is down 20 and has a next play attitude and finds a way. Is that something that fuels your kids as well when you see fellow student athletes pull off something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we have a small campus community here, and a lot of the athletes know each other and they support each other really well, not just football, basketball, but all the sports here. But when you see something like that last night, we were in meetings. I came back and read about it after the game had ended. But that's impressive. That's really special. So again, the athletes were all in the same boat this year. It's 2020. How cool would it have been to do that in a packed out Watsco Center? But still, a lot of credit to Coach L and his staff and the players for getting that done.
Thanks, man.
Coach, we've got time for a few more. We're going to go to Andrea Adelson at ESPN. Andrea?
Manny, just a quick follow-up on Al. Just wondering from your perspective as a coach, how difficult it was to hear the news about what happened to him, because you all have done your level best to keep all of these players safe, and yet the coronavirus is something that you can't really control, and there was an outcome like this for one of your players.
Correct. And Andrew, I think as I mentioned earlier, the stories are just also different in how it affects people and the symptoms, and obviously the symptoms don't even relate to necessarily the outcome that Al had. So there's just such a wide variance and such a randomness to how this affects different people. So again, yeah, I mean, you feel awful for him, but the only thing that is encouraging is from what the medical people say is that he should expect to make a full recovery and get back and finish his a great career with Miami.
Matt Shodell from CaneSport. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Manny. So you got signing day is exactly a week away. I wanted to sort of get your sense. Do you expect to take all 25 on the early signing period, have a couple of spots left over like you guys have done in the past for maybe some stragglers or some transfers that you can count backwards? Can you sort of fill us in on your view of the numbers heading into signing day?
From an accounting perspective, we can only sign 24 at this juncture. So we could sign 24. We could sign it. That simply depends on some last minute decision making. I'd say there's a fair chance it happens. I don't know. We'll see.
Coach, we've got Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny?
Hey, Coach. I asked Derek this question just about the college football playoff rankings, and he says it's hard to ignore when you got two loss teams ranked ahead of you. I know for you it's always going 1-0, and that's the focus, and trying to keep them on that. But I guess just your reaction to seeing, especially after a 48-0 win, that you guys didn't move up, and that you still got a couple 2-loss teams ranked ahead of you.
Well, I think I made it pretty clear my feelings on the midseason rankings last week. But what I will say is that it just shows that we've got more to do, And if people are sitting there with stacked arms, unimpressed, then I think that's a challenge to our football team to that we've got to do more. And if that keeps a chip on Derek's shoulder and the rest of the guys in the locker room, then that's not a bad thing to have. And look, we have thrown our way that it's as we know in college football, you just don't sit around and ask people to respect you. You got to go take it, and you got to earn it. And so to that point, kind of like what you're saying with going 1-0, that puts it back in our hands. We have the opportunity to continue to win football games and finish the season. But we know that this challenge this weekend, wherever Carolina's ranked 17th, I think something like that, will be as tough of a challenge as we've had probably since the Clemson game.
Thanks.
Coach, last one for you is Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned shortly after the Duke game just that your guys were looking forward to this one against North Carolina because of last year. And I know it's one game at a time, but with this North Carolina game late in the season, you sense your guys have really been looking forward to this one. And obviously both of you guys came into the season expecting to have good seasons.
Yeah, I mean, they were picked to win our division. And this has every feel of that late season, big event game in Miami. That if the place was allowed to be packed out, it'd be a tough ticket to get, and one of those where when you came in, the tailgating parking lots would be packed out well before kickoff. So we'll take what we can get crowd wise. We'll take the support crowd wise, but I think our players have earned the right, as have North Carolina's. I mean, this is a top 20 matchup going on late in the season. So this is a big time game. It's a big time game for our league. I think it's a game that when the schedule first came out, your eyes get drawn to when we would play North Carolina because, again, they're the team that everybody picked to finish ahead of us in our division. So I'm sure they'll be equally as excited to play us for the same reason.